Biker Mom. That's right, we're gonna take a first sneak peek look at the PYRO Archon's kit. There's not a whole lot that we can discuss here, tentatively, if you can understand what I'm putting down here, but we're gonna give you the basis of what it is that she's going to be doing. There's going to be a character that she seems very reminiscent of, and well, if you can guess that character, I'll give you a hint. It's another Archon as far as the way that she might turn out playing. Then you let me know what you think about that down below. Now let's start off with the PYRO Archon's kit. Now what is it that we're going to be doing here? We're going to be having access to a Claymore using character 4-hit combo. The second and third parts of the combo are going to be multi-hitting attacks, 2 and 3 hits respectively. The fourth hit's going to have a decent multiplier as well. But get that out of your mind. We don't really particularly care about that. No, let's take a look at her elemental skill first. It's gonna have 2 different things for you to do here. Checks notes. Now it's gonna have 2 forms. It's gonna have a press or a hold version. Let's go over the press version, the tap version first. Divine Name Unleashed. The all fire armaments manifest as rings of searing radiance. The rings follow the current active character and attack nearby opponents at intervals, dealing Night Soul aligned pyro damage. Does this sound very familiar to anyone out there? A ring that follows your character around and does damage based on intervals, kind of. Very similar to Raiden Shogun. Yeah, this interval is gonna be every 2 seconds. So what do you know? We have an off-field source of pyro damage, and it's even Night Soul aligned pyro damage. But that's just the first part of her kit. We also have the second part, which is going to be the hold version, which is gonna turn her into a mainstay on-field DPS. So the second version here, checks notes. The hold version, Ancient Name Unbound. The all-fire armaments manifest as Flame Strider. In this state, Mavuika can ride the Flame Strider at high speeds or activate its hidden backup propulsion module to temporarily cross various terrains and glide in midair temporarily. Mavuika's normal charged and plunging attacks will also be converted into pyro damage. But in addition to that, when you sprint while you're in the motorcycle form, you're also gonna just do damage to people around you, which is pretty decent. And then while you're in your Night Soul Blessing form, you can hit the elemental skill again to transform into the all fire armaments form. The multipliers for this form are pretty decent, all above 100%, has a 5-hit combo, or you can also charge attack with it. If you go ahead and sprint, well, your sprinting damage on your motorcycle form is like 160% as well, which is pretty nice. There's a lot of things that we're talking about with Malkuvia already. Malkuvia? That's not her name. Leave the downvote, it's fine. But we have the Elemental Burst form to talk about here as well. Now the Elemental Burst is going to be a little bit different here. Now we all talk about Elemental Burst all the time. You need your Elemental Burst gauge, you need to fill it up, you activate your burst. That's how Genshin Impact works. Not with this character. Now, she doesn't use Elemental Burst energy. Instead, she uses a whole entirely different mechanic that they're calling Fighting Spirit. Yeah, that would be a little too easy there. No, the way we gain Fighting Spirit, there's 2 ways. Now, you can gain 1.5 Fighting Spirit every time someone does a normal attack in your party. It doesn't have to be her, it can be anyone at all. She'll gain 1.5 Fighting Spirit, which is a very tiny amount when you look at the cost of her Elemental Burst. The other way that you gain it, though, is every time someone consumes Night Soul Point meter gauge in your team, it will give her an equivalent amount of Fighting Spirit as well. Now, this is a big thing that you need to be factoring in. We'll talk about this more in the future when we're talking about builds and characters and team members for Mavuika teams, because, well, her burst costs 200 Fighting Spirit. Yes, that means if you only are using normal attacks in your party, you can do 100 normal attacks and you'd still only gather 150 Fighting Spirit, which you'd only be 75% of the way to building her burst in a non-Night Soul Point using team. It's kind of sad, but what do you get when you use her Elemental Burst? Well, you're gonna get a couple of things. You're gonna jump up in the air, you know, transform a little bit, do some big impact damage, but when you Elemental Burst, you're going to be gaining a damage % bonus to all of her skills, particularly the ones that you want to be using when you're in her Elemental Skill Hold form, her motorcycle form. You're gonna be getting a pretty large and substantial damage bonus based on the amount of Fighting Spirit that you did consume. But it's also gonna put you in a new form, War God form, the Crucible of Life and Death, whatever translation you wanna talk about. It's gonna put you in this form for 7 seconds, and while you're in this form, you're not gonna consume Night Soul Point meter for anything. So you basically have to go back into your forms from your Elemental Skill or your Elemental Burst for an additional 7 seconds. It's going to give you 10 Night Soul Point meter as well. And then in addition to that, it's going to be boosting up the damage that you do with all of your normal attacks, charge attacks, all that cool stuff that you gain access to in motorcycle form based on the amount of fighting spirit that you consumed when you used your elemental burst. And at C0 here, if you pop it off, the max you can have is 200 fighting spirit, as your normal attack's gonna get about a 0.7%, 0.72% at talent level 10 bonus per point of war god spirit, per point of fighting spirit consumed. And the charge attack's just about double that. I think it might even be exactly double that at 1.44% increase, which sounds kind of low, but remember, it costs 200 to cast this. So yes, that's gonna be like 140% for your normal charge attack damage bonus, or excuse me, just your normal attack damage bonus, and then like 280% damage bonus for your charge attack. Now, the only essential talent bonus that I have access to right now also works with her elemental burst, and this one's going to buff up the active player's damage by up to 50% based on that person's Night Soul meter gauge. And this does last for 20 seconds, but it will delay over time. And it's not just for Mavuika, it's for anyone in your party that's in your active slot, which makes it so that not only can she be that on-field, motorcycle drive and damage dealer, maybe she can also do that sub DPS, use the press form, activate her elemental burst, swap her out during that time and have someone else get that big 50% damage bonus because she has a full Night Soul meter gauge. You activated her burst, you just kind of swapped her off, and you're just kind of maxing out her damage bonus from her essential passive. You don't have to do that though. You can just ult and then give herself her own damage bonus from her essential passive. So she's got this nice gameplay style of she can be that support off-field sort of damage dealer, apply pyro that way. She can also just be your on-field damage dealer. All of this is at Constellation 0 with no real drawbacks outside of the biggest drawback that we have seen, and that's going to be the fact that she doesn't use elemental burst energy. She really needs these new Notlon characters in her party so you can activate her burst as much as possible. It doesn't have a very long cooldown. It's pretty long. It's like 18 seconds, but it's going to take you way more than 18 seconds if you're just trying to recharge her burst meter, recharge that fighting spirit gauge by doing, I don't know, 150 normal attacks with other party members. That's a very long time. That's way more than 18 seconds would be for you to gain access to your burst again. So she's really going to be wanting to play with these Notlon characters. There's another character that we're going to be covering in another video that's getting spoiled, right? Sneak peek. That's going to be a fantastic support character for Mavuika. So in essence, you're really going to want to have a lot of the Notlon characters to use the Notlon Archon. You let me know what you think about that down below. We don't have access to the constellations or any of the cool stuff, like how much aura does she apply with her hits on her off-field. We don't know all of that stuff quite yet. And oh yeah, dude, don't forget about the second channel that we just started like a couple days ago. It's not anything to do with Genshin. It's actually a Pokemon Pocket. Go check that out. We're having a fun time over there looking for more information about any future content for Genshin here, Pokemon TCG, right on over there. And I'll see you guys in the next one.